So let's get started. I printed on a piece of copier paper, cheap copier paper. I happen to have a laser printer because I print a lot of labels, but this also works with an inkjet printer too. So I have a high contrast image right here. Another example of a high contrast image would be something like this in completely black and white, and like this. But I like vintage photographs, so that's what we will use. This I got from the Graphics Fairy online, and it was a free image. Mickey will include a link if you want to use the same image. So I have this image in black and white. You can do it in color too. I just don't have a color printer. So I'm going to cut around the edges. I'm not going to leave any white showing. Now, luckily, this is a rectangle, but if you had an image which was a shape like this is a book cover I made yesterday, you would cut around as best you could the image. You wouldn't want to leave too much white paper on here. You would have to leave a tiny bit to make it hold together, but you would want to cut fairly close around that image. Otherwise, you're going to get like a white shadow effect. Okay, so cut out your high contrast image. So this is plain copier paper and on a black and white laser, but it will also work on inkjet. For my fabric, I'm using a piece of white quilting cotton. I'm going to heat up my iron. I just want to, I've got my iron to my side of me. I will show you in a minute. This is white quilting cotton. This is white muslin. The tighter the weave of the fabric you use, the crisper the image. But I will show you later on that I did some image transfers on more open weave and it looks really good. So don't feel like you have to use tightly woven cotton. So this is Kona cotton from the quilting store, and it's just plain white cotton that you would use in quilting. I'm just going to get some of those wrinkles out if I can. So I've made it a little bit bigger than my image, but by all means do a large piece like I did here. I did a much larger piece and then made book cloth with it. So use a size of fabric that feels appropriate to the project you have in mind. I just sort of like to have these little images lying around so that I can collage with them. I'm just going to iron the wrinkles out of this. I have an iron right next to me. There we go. So underneath I have a silicone mat, which I have used before. I believe this is a Tim Holtz, but you can just get them. No offense to Tim Holtz, he's a genius, but they can be purchased much cheaper on Amazon. Just silicone mats in the baking department, and they're just as good. And I think you get like 5 or 6 for the same price as one Tim Holtz. Okay, focus on the camera. Let me see, I'm just checking. Is the camera out of focus? I don't think so. I did not wash the fabric. No, it doesn't even occur to me to wash fabric because I'm making a book and this will never run through the wash. If this was a fabric book that you were going to maybe wash for some reason, although I don't know why you would. No, so it was in a project that you were going to wash, then yes, sure, pre-wash. I never pre-wash. That again just feels like way too much time for me. I don't have all the wrinkles out, but that's fine. If these wrinkles bothered you, you could pre-wash it for sure, and I'm sure they would come out. Let me just check your questions. So Daria would wash it to get the sizing out. Yep. I'm just darn lazy, unfortunately. So I'm going to use matte medium. There are many matte mediums on the market, and I know that you all have your favorites. This is my favorite. Feel free to put your favorite in the comments, whether it's a golden, whether it's a Liquitex, any other brand. If you live overseas, please share what country you're in and what your favorite is. This is just an acrylic matte medium, and I like the Utrecht one, and I get it from Dick Blick. but this is not specific to this brand. You choose the brand that you like the best. Oh, Mickey's just popped a link in. Thank you. But yes, I'd be curious to know what you, oh, sorry, the light has gone. Oh, the sun's gone in. Hold on. There we go. Oh dear, that's a weird blue color. The sun will come back out in a minute. So yeah, pop in the comments your favorite brand of matte medium. I have a brush. I think it's a 1.5 inch brush. Maybe it's a 1 inch brush. Here we go. Here comes the sun again. I always put a piece of cling film or saran wrap on here because otherwise it sticks. Let's put that to one side. So if you don't have a silicone mat, that's no big deal. Just use plastic. Just use, you know, a plastic sheet protector or just some kind of plastic is fine. But you don't want to do this on paper. You want to do this on something non-stick. The amount that you do put on the image is quite important. The way I like to think of it is, well, the way in my mind, this is how I do it. I put a big blob like this. Let me come in a bit closer. Hold on. Let's come in a bit closer. Hopefully you can see that. Get a great blob and cover it so that I can see white lines. See, I can see white hunks of matte medium. Then I get my brush and I wipe it off into the pot so there's hardly any left. And then what I do is I drag like this and then scrape it back off in here. So this gives me a nice even layer so that when I'm done it's shiny but there's no white on here. No, you can't see the white matte medium. So it's a nice shiny layer. I went in both directions. I'm not going a ton back and forth. I just smoothed it out, got rid of the excess, and now I have like an even, fairly thin layer. Honestly though, with your brand, you're just gonna have to practice. Take your fabric. If there's a side to it, a pattern, it goes face down, like this. Just pressing my fingers. And then I'm getting my Teflon bone folder and I'm rubbing back and forth like this. Honestly, I pray this works because literally I do not have another one here. Putting my life on the line here. My reputation on the line. Can she do an image transfer live? Okay, so I'm giving it a good rub. I'm going to carefully lift it off. If the paper sticks to the silicone, just gently lift it and flip over like this and rub. So that's a little bit wrinkled on the edge, but that's okay. And give it another good rub. So at this point, you would normally leave it overnight. And so then I've just lost interest. Like, you know, I'm done at this point. If you say overnight, I've lost my thread. So what I'm going to do is take a heat gun. So do you remember the heat guns we used to have for stamping for the embossing powder? This is Stampin' Up! One, but you can get them. You can still get them in craft stores. But you could also use a hairdryer. It would just take longer. So I have a tile like this, my little hot stuff tile, and I am going to dry it. Let me move it away from the microphone a little bit. I'm going to dry it for about a minute with the heat gun. So let me move the microphone away. If you have questions, pop them in the chat. I don't think it does smear with an inkjet printer, no. It's my understanding that it doesn't smear. Okay, folks, I would say that was that about a minute, maybe a bit more. Will this work with a magazine photo? I don't know, Phyllis. Why don't you try and let us know? I would love to know that. Yes, the paper needs to be dry. So if you're using a hairdryer, it would take longer than with a heat gun. And I was putting that heat gun pretty close, right? So, and yeah, this feels dry. I may give it one more blast. I'm just going to answer your questions. The heat gun literally was like 1.5 inches away. It's really pretty close. So Patricia makes a very good point. Should the image have been printed in reverse? If you want text to appear, Patricia, I don't mind. But if you wanted text to appear, you would definitely print it in reverse for sure. Margaret, it would take longer with a hairdryer, I believe. Okay, thanks, Phyllis. All right, I'm going to give it one more blast, and then we will dunk it in some water. Okie dokie. So then I have a pot of water here, just tap water, and I'm going to, let's come out a little bit. I'm going to leave it in here for about 3 minutes while I show you some examples. So I'm just going to leave it in there for about 3 minutes. I think 2 would be fine as well, but we'll do 3. And I'm going to show you just some examples of different fabrics I've been experimenting with to give you some ideas while that soaks. I might even just put the my phone timer on just to do 3 minutes, right? So today's Facebook Live, we can, we'll be taking breaks for coffee while the thing runs. All right, let's put our timer on for about 3 minutes. Well, not 3 hours. I don't think you guys would stick with me for 3 hours. Okay, there we go. So here's some of the same image on some different fabrics that I created to show you the difference. So let's have a look. So this started out, this is the white that we are doing today. That was a mistake. Somehow there was some yellow on my paper. So this was the white. Let me come in a bit closer for you. That's pretty crisp, right? So that's on the tightly woven white. This is the tightly woven white. And then after the image transfer had been done, I dunked it in tea. Let it sit in a cup of tea for a while. So that's the same fabric, but in white. Then I did muslin, which had got a more open weave. Let me, I don't know if you can see, but this weave is more open. And so the image was less crisp, but not much. So that was a muslin that I used. Same image, same procedure. I used a piece of turquoise fabric, which was tightly woven. It was quilting cotton again. The transfer wasn't as good. I rubbed off too much ink. But you can see, get a nice image on colored fabric. Judy is asking, can you wash the fabric without the transfer coming off? I do not know. Oh, well, we're dunking it in water. So yes, I don't know if you could put it through a washing machine, Judy, with detergent, but soaking it in a pot of water is fine. And then finally, second to last, I did another one on white, and then I dyed it with, painted it with watercolors. I did this bright color, which is not really my cup of tea, this kind of reddy pink, but I just wanted to see what the effect would be like. So this was literally just painted with a wash of watercolor, and that was done on the white. And then this one here, I thought was very interesting, very cool. This is a more open weave fabric. Let me flip it over so you can see. This is the selvage along here. Do you see? This is fairly open weave. Now, this is one I got from Claudia at Colorway Arts, who does the boxes. And I really like how this came out, this woven fabric. And Mickey will include a link for you because I sent it to her this morning. And then here is a book cover that I made with that same fabric. So I liked it so much, I put this flower on there on a larger piece. And then I'll show you in a minute how I backed it with fusible webbing to create book cloth. But so this was, and then I think I put on the back a ledger paper. So this is going to be a book cover, and I'll make a, oops, there we go. I'll make a plain cover for the back. We just haven't got that far yet. But yeah, I thought this fabric was really nice. I thought it might appeal to you. So I would experiment with fabrics too. I know the general wisdom is that, oh, it must be a tightly woven cotton, but I found that not to necessarily be true. So you can still get a nice image. It just won't be as crisp. So there are those. All right, so our 3 minutes is up. Let me just check your questions. Thank you, Roseanne. Okay. Moment of truth, my friends. So it's had 3 minutes. Set aside the water. So I'm just going to keep it on my silicone. The first layer of paper, we're going to peel the paper off the back and leave the ink on the fabric. That's the idea anyway. Oops. So the first layer should just rub off with your fingers. So I'm just using 2 fingers and I'm rubbing like the sort of initial heavy layer off. This is the low-hanging fruit. This is easy, this part right here. So using 2 fingers, dragging it from the middle out so that the paper goes off the page. The trouble about this is it's really, it's messy. I was doing this yesterday afternoon, then I went to the grocery store and I looked down and like my t-shirt was like covered in little rolls of paper. I just wonder what I've been up to. So there's the initial layer. Obviously we don't leave it like that. Then I use a rag. I just use a scrap of muslin that I have lying around. You can use smaller pieces if you want to. Little pieces like this or a larger piece. I wouldn't use a tissue because you'll get lint on there. And, oops, I took away some of this. So that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid taking away any of the ink. So I am pressing hard. I don't know if you can hear it. Let me come a bit closer so perhaps you can hear, but I'm pushing pretty firmly. And I'm going from you could do little circles if you wanted to, but I'm just doing it from the middle out so that it goes off the paper. So some little circles. Just check the questions. Can you transfer text? Yep, you just have to reverse it. And that's a good question, Daryl. Just reverse it in your printer. I think there's a setting in your printer to mirror text. Okay, I'm just going to dump this in the trash because there's lots of little bits of paper on my piece of fabric, and then we'll just keep going. And then once I've got this layer off, so see here I've taken a little bit extra. I suspect I did not have enough matte medium on there. But to be honest, I kind of actually like the way that looks. It looks kind of grungy. You know what? I should slow down. Okay. So you could just keep going until all the pieces that are coming off are getting tinier and tinier. So initially we started out with big rolls, then we've got some medium-sized pieces, and now the pieces coming off are fairly tiny. So what we're going to do is dry it one more time. And what will happen when we dry it is that, well, let's see what happens when we dry it. I'm going to dry it one more time. Oh, you know, this is the yellow. This is from my mat. I must have had some ink on here. All right, one more dry. Okay, so you can see she's gotten fuzzy again, right? So let's give her another spritz and get some more off. So, it takes a little patience, but there's no leaving overnight, which honestly, it's just never going to happen for me. Okay. All right, now, my friends, let me dry it, see how our shadowies are going. There's still a bit more on there, so here is my magic trick, and this actually is not my magic trick. I will tell you, this is from my friend Andrea Chablot. She told me this trick. It's a Mr. Clean Mr. Clean magic eraser. So you can get these. I believe what they're for is paintwork, for getting dirty marks off paint. So I believe, and you can buy store brands of these. And this is the magic trick for getting that final haze off your image. So just see, I'm just rubbing outwards, 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 outwards like this. I will tell you, do you know what I think the reason we're getting the pieces of ink coming off? I'm not sure I put enough matte medium on. I might have taken off too much matte medium. But that's okay. That's life, right? So you're going to go in with this magic eraser and gently remove those final pieces. And if you want to, you can dry it again, see where the haze is, and then go back over and get rid of. And it's gonna accumulate on here, so you want to kind of brush it off and just sit here, pop the TV on, and just work. It really doesn't take that long to get that final sheen off. I kind of like the way she looks like this. Little bits and pieces missing. So that was probably longer than 10 minutes, folks. But, because I've shown you what to do. But that's to show you that you can do a bunch of these in an afternoon, and there's absolutely no reason to wait overnight. So here is how this will look when it's dried. Probably how it looks when it dries. This is just a little bit wet still. But let me see if there's any questions. I like that some of the image rubbed off. Yeah, I think it looks kind of aged. So Debbie likes to do it with her fingers. Yeah, I'm not a big one for using my fingers. I'm a tool pusher, thank you. Is it the same to transfer to paper? Well, I certainly wouldn't, let me think, to paper. Perhaps folks here can let us know. I've only been practicing on fabric this week. So who in the comments would like to talk about their experience with paper? I generally do my image transfers with gel medium rather than matte medium. So I'd be curious to know what everyone thinks. Yes, Arlene, it can be a colored photo. That's a great question. So Daria says she doesn't have a heat gun because she got rid of it. Just leave it overnight then. But like I say, I'm too impatient to wait overnight. So I could just kind of sit here and work on this just to finish it up. But I won't, because you'll be bored to tears. But this really, like I say, I have Andrea to thank for this. I'm just going to pop this here so you can see it. And I saw these in the grocery store yesterday, and like own brands, like our local grocery. And I think Scotch does them too. I think it has a green thing on the back and a white one on the front. And I'm sure there's a UK and European equivalent. It's meant for getting, like I say, a dirty marks off paint. That is the magic trick. Okay, so SJ Navage says it is the same procedure, just don't soak for so long, just spritz. Yeah. Susan says, are the overnight image transfer direction on the website? No, I haven't put these on the website yet, although I do have some notes here, which apparently I didn't even look at. So I will put my notes on the website with the video. Apparently making notes is really good when you actually read them. So anyhow, that is our girl for today. I did want to quickly show you how I make book cloth from an image transfer. Because again, it might be a little bit counterintuitive. Let's get rid of this puppy. Might be somewhat counterintuitive because it uses heat, but so here's one I did. I did her, our girl, our reading girl, on a piece of fabric which is it's printed. It's printed with this text, and I got it on Etsy. And I know you're going to ask me where from, and Mickey will put a link in. I got it from a great seller on Etsy. Just drinking my coffee because Andy took the trouble to make it for me. So I'm going to make a piece of book cloth very similar to, well, not similar to, in the same way that I did this. This lady also on Etsy has this fabric, which I think is really interesting. It looks like an eco print, which she scanned and made into fabric. I can imagine this would look really interesting with some kind of image transfer over the top too. So don't discard patterned fabrics. You know, you can definitely do image transfer on these patterned fabrics. And again, this is a fairly open weave. I think you can see right here. It's pretty open. So, and she came out nice. So the way that I like to do my I can't think of the word, book cloth, book cloth, menopause mind here, is to use fusible webbing. So again, because you have to wait overnight for if you make book cloth with wheat paste, which is fine, but I really don't like waiting overnight. Like if I have an idea, I just kind of want to keep following the idea, and I don't want to keep stopping for things to dry overnight. It drives me nuts. So I really like this product here. If you live in a different country, you'll have different brands, but it's a fusible webbing. And this fusible webbing, it's adhesive on both sides, and it's backed with paper both sides. So you would, hold on, let me see if you can see that. There's the adhesive right there, and then there's some on the back. What I really like about these is the size. They're 9 inches by 12 inches. So it's just, they're just a good size, and they store easily. But I have also been using this product here, which is, let me hold it steady, Wonder Under, a heavy duty Wonder Under. It comes on a roll, which, you know, is probably easier to store, but it's rolled, so I find it a little more difficult to work with. But it's the same principle as the steamer seam. It's made by the same company, and I'm sure there are other brands like this. And then the difference with this one is there's only paper on one side. So if you can see, oh, there we go. There's just paper on one side. So you would, so I'm going to show you how to use this with the Wonder Under, because I believe I've showed you how to use this one before. So let me show you with the Wonder Under. So I cut a piece. I cut a piece with the Wonder Under, and what I'm going to back it with is a piece of copier paper. Normally I use like a thin Japanese sketch paper or a mulberry paper, but not everyone has access to that. So I wanted to show you, you can just use a piece of copier paper. I'm just checking. So I'm just checking the comments. So I just wanted to make it a little more accessible for folks who don't have access to the Japanese paper. So let's just, I'm going to cut this down with scissors. You could use your rotary cutter too, right? I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than my fabric. I feel like the roll is more cost effective as well than the sheets, I will say. I'm just going to make this a little bit narrower. So remember, the roll of the Wonder Under only has paper on one side, and the sheets of Steamer Seam has paper on both. So essentially, okay, let's get rid of the heat gun. By the way, if you're using a heat gun, remember to unplug it at night. I know someone whose house burned down because they left it plugged in and the cat knocked it over and burned their house down. Luckily, she survived. But so every time, of course, I use my heat gun, I'm like completely paranoid about burning my house down. So I have got it on a wool setting because this is slightly plasticized from the matte medium. So we don't want to melt this. So I would put it onto like wool, or even wool or silk. So a number 2, and I'm using a dry iron. And I'm just going to give it a little iron. I'm just going to go around the image. I don't want to tempt fate by ironing straight over the image. I'm getting on my iron. Okay. So we're going to place this face down like this. Going to lay. So we have adhesive on this side, paper on this side. I'm going to lay this down. Give an iron to melt that adhesive. So this is just a tabletop kind of ironing board, which I like to have because having the ironing board set up all the time is a pain in the neck. I don't have the space. So I'm sure many of you have something similar. Let me see. Oh, thank you, Mickey. She put in the Etsy fabric. Celeste, it's called Heat and Bond Light. Great. Yeah, these, I mean, there isn't one single product for this, right? It's just whatever your local store sells. Okay. Just let that cool for a second. I'm going to pull this off. Actually, you know what? Do you know what I'm thinking? I'm going to change my mind. Because quite honestly, this paper here is actually fine. We could use this. I was going to pull this off and then stick the copier paper on top. But quite frankly, let's just think on the fly. This paper here is really great. It's nice and thin. So in fact, I think I'm just going to use this straight on my book board. You know, I'm going to use this straight on to attach it to a piece of, I'm going to glue it to a piece of book board. So what I will do is trim it up with my rotary cutter. And where is my, here it is. I'll trim it up with my rotary cutter and then have some nice book cloth. Here we go, folks. Thinking on the fly, thinking on the fly. So just even it up and then use, you know, in your project however you would like. So we have 10-minute image transfer and like 3-minute 3-minute book cloth. That's like, you know, maybe 15 minutes in total. That's the kind of speed I like to work. Okay, let me just finish trimming up these edges. I'm not going to show you how I cover my book board because you've seen me do that 1,000 times. There's my piece of book cloth. If I wanted to iron the front of this, I would just put a piece of copier paper quickly. Also, I would also put it on this too, otherwise I'll warp my cutting mat. There we go. That didn't stick at all. So you can iron over that image transfer very lightly if you wanted to. Someone asked about inkjet printers earlier. I think that you can probably set an inkjet image with heat as well before you do the image transfer. So, okay, the sun's gone in again. All right, folks. So this is essentially what I did, I made book cloth with this image right here, and then I wrapped it around my board, trimmed it, and then, you know, put an end sheet on. So into this paper. So, and here are my other image transfers if you just want to see them one more time. This was on muslin. This was on plain white. Here's my one which hasn't quite dried yet. This was on white with watercolors. This was on a turquoise piece of fabric. This was on white, and then I dunked in my cup of tea, minus the milk. And then this was done on a type of linen. So sorry about the light. Let me go turn on the big light. There we go. And just to reiterate, we used a matte medium to create the transfer. I like the Utrecht one. We used a matte medium. We used a heat gun, and then the magic tool at the end was the Mr. Clean eraser. So that's all. That's what we have today. Let me flip the camera around. Don't need that. Hello. Let's see if you have any questions. What is the cloth used to iron on in place of an ironing board? Oh, I don't know. There is a cloth, isn't there? There's like a type of silver cloth. I forget what it's called. Someone will know though. Oh, Sandra says, I can't make a straight cut with the rotary tool. Is there a trick? The trick is a sharp blade. Sorry, I just dropped something. The trick is a sharp blade, and just to hold the, I would say, a sharp blade, stand up when you're doing it. Sitting down is not good. Stand up, and then put a lot of pressure on the ruler to hold it in place, and sort of kind of keep your arm close to your body, and then sort of put a lot of pressure kind of from the hip or the elbow, rather than just kind of sitting back and trying to cut like this. It's best to kind of be above it and then sort of put quite a lot of force behind it. So, and then just keeping the ruler really steady with your hand is another trick. And if anyone else has more tricks, please let me know, because I don't do it like every single day. Let me see. I promise you, Pat, you can do this. You can do this. Let me see. I'm just checking questions. What is the cutting tool called? It's a little rotary cutter by Clover from Japan. I think it's a 1-inch blade. I just thought it was cute because it's small. And I cut quite small pieces for, you know, working with books and things. So the ironing board is from Joann's. So on one side it's an an ironing mat, and then on the other side is a cutting mat, so you can flip it over. And the size is the grid is 10 by 10, but the whole thing is probably more like 12 by 12. So yeah, just Joann's, just the fabric store. And like, you know, with the coupon, it was cheap. Cut and press. Oh my goodness. Oh, Judy says she can't wait to see the new studio. Nor can we. It's a work in progress, Judy. Thank you, Linda, for that link. Hold on, I'm just looking. Make sure. Yeah, I know. Oh, I've cut my fingers so many times on rotary cutters. Tell us again what you said about the inkjet, please. Absolutely. I don't have a ton of experience using inkjet prints, but I think that if you felt like it would smear when you put on the matte medium, I'm just guessing that you could probably heat set it, like with an iron. Maybe you could put a piece of scrap paper over the top and then heat set it with an iron, and that might help. I'm just guessing. But it's my understanding this method works with inkjet as well as laser prints. That's what I was told. Yeah, you can do it, Sharon. Honestly, if I can do it, you can do it. And there's no overnight. There's no proving. Thank you, Deborah. I like this. Angela says now she knows what to do tomorrow. Yeah, right. And go on Graphics Fairy, because there's so many images and she has it all so well not necessarily well laid out, but just done by category. So there's vintage fishing and vintage women, vintage botanicals, leaves, animals. It's a great resource. Thank you. It was a quick one today, folks. Well, pretty quick, 10:45. So what was I going to say to you? If you're in the Handmade Book Club, which many of you are, remember that tomorrow we have our mixed media lesson with Kat Kirby. We'll be making the funky pockets. If you are not a member of the book club, we would love to have you, and we will be opening up for new members in July. So stay tuned. Make sure you are on the newsletter to find out when it opens up again. But so to book club members, I will see many of you tomorrow at noon Eastern for Kat Kirby's 4 funky pockets, and we're going to be doing a 4 funky pocket swap. It's very exciting. All right. Oh, Angela says Graphics Fairies goes by color too. Nice. Phyllis has used inkjet and the rubbing off is a bit tricky. Yeah, try some heat setting, or go to the copier shop and get some laser prints made, or talk to a friend who has a laser printer. I have to tell you, I did kid myself that the reason I was buying a laser printer was because I have to print lots of shipping labels. I really don't have to buy lots of shipping labels. I got the laser printer because I thought it would be better for image transfer, but that's between you and me. All right. Brenda has a fantastic question. Will there be another 5-day challenge? Yes, there will. We will be doing another 5-day challenge. In fact, I'm dreaming up the book right now. It may involve, it's going to be another Coptic book because everyone likes that, but we're going to do a different cover this time. So another Coptic stitch book, but a different type of cover, a different type of cover attachment. So we'll see. So good question. Wendy, no, it's not on Facebook tomorrow. No, it is in Zoom. It's on a Zoom meeting tomorrow. So yes, if you're a book club member, we will be meeting on Zoom tomorrow. I'll be sending out a reminder very shortly once I've finished here. So, all right. Well, thank you, folks. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you for your patience while I did my image transfer live. It didn't come out too bad. Could have been better, but I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out, considering. Thank you for your support. Thank you for showing up here every Thursday. I appreciate it. I can't see your faces, but I feel like they're smiling on the other side of the computer at me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the kind comments and the way that you support me and keep me showing up here every Thursday. And so I will catch you all very soon in one way or another. If I don't see you in the book club, I will see you here next Thursday morning for some jelly printing fun next week, just to mix things up a bit. All right. Have a wonderful day, folks. I will talk to you all soon.